Hello, sorry to jump in here. I don't know if you guys can hear me, but we cannot hear you. Um, the Zoom in the city council chambers is muted. Yeah, hi, just letting you guys know that I haven't been able to hear
Test, 1, 2, 3. I'm just assume you fixed that audio problem while we're on there. Back it. Talk to Dominique, she said. All right. Cool, those are done.
Rachel will be coming back on to listen to the meeting.
Yeah, his last night.
Are we back in business? Okay, this meeting is reconvened. 7:45 PM. Okay, our next order of business is.
Chair, would you like to give an update on the tour?
Do I? Oh, okay. Well, we visited Farallones Park, which that park is in really, really great shape. We went by Encanto Park, which is really just a hill with some cactus planted in it. Then we went to Farallones Park. That park is also in really, really great shape. Then Pachetti Dog Park, which that park is also in really good shape. Then we went to the Wheeler Tennis Courts, which I tend to be in agreement with the people that spoke in public comment about the surface being pretty unsafe. It's slippery and needs to be resurfaced. Then we went to Trinity Park, and that park is in good order also, really good shape. So does anyone else have anything to add? Any commissioners? Dan?
We'll open up public comment for item 8 or 5A.
5A, which was the tour of Seaside Parks. Public comment is now open.
I'm seeing no one in the chamber and there is no one on Zoom.
A public comment is still open. Okay, public comment is closed. Okay, moving on to business item 5B. Discussion on reinstating the youth commission, and that's Commissioner Lobo.
Thank you. This was one of our high impact ongoing items on our work plan. And so I just wanted some information on what capacity staff and our commission have to establish the youth commission and perhaps garnish some interns to assist with the parks. We can probably tag some of our partners in as well. So I just wanted to have a discussion on the capacity of staff, what it looked like in previous years. That's it.
Okay, I can answer some of that. First off, I'm not exactly sure when the last time the youth commission has or was active. I've been with the city for 8 years and it hasn't been in my time here. And from what I guess, it was probably even maybe 10 years prior to that. The way that the youth commission works is that it does require, like, there's specifics on the numbers for the participation. So I think they need at least one youth that's in college, either at MPC or CSUMB. Then there's some numbers allocated for high school students and then numbers allocated from middle school students. So they do need to meet each one of those thresholds, if you will, for the participation to reinstate the commission. When it comes to capacity, the youth commission would fall under the recreation department. We currently, under the rec department, we currently have the most commissions that fall under us. So adding another one, while there would be a little bit of a capacity thing, but it is an opportunity as well that the liaison wouldn't necessarily have to be the rec director. We can have potentially one of the other staff that be the liaison for that one. So while it's not out of the realm of possibility, it would be taking a little legwork to get it up and going, just to make sure that we could get enough participation and then the vetting process and everything to get those applicants started. Just for an example, like when the Parks and Rec Commission was kind of like dormant for a while, when we reinstated it, we still had commissioners on board. So it was easier to go and contact the commissioners that were currently still, in line and say, hey, we're starting the meeting back up. We're going to start meeting. The challenge here is all those kids that would have been a part of it are no longer eligible to be on this commission. So it would be starting from scratch and building it from there. So we could definitely take a look, review the ordinance for the commission, and we'll have more details on the specifics of it for sure.
Thank you. Anyone else? I know that when we went around like designating a commission that we would like to be a part of, I chose that one. And hopefully it will be in existence sometime in the near future. You have any other?
No, just the specifics on that ordinance. Like how many high school, how many middle school, and you said one college, just to know what the ordinance looks like, to have it on our back of our mind if that's something that we want to do in the near future, just to have the logistics and maybe see if there's interest that we can fulfill it. It wouldn't be advantageous if we didn't have the individuals to fill it and then give that additional work to Parks and Rec.
All right, Chair, public comment.
Okay, we are open for public comment on this item.
Seeing no one in the chamber or on Zoom.
Public comment is still open. Okay, public comment is closed. Okay. The next item is receive an update on the Neighborhood Improvement Commission's funding subcommittee. Vice Chair me. Okay, so Diane and I, Commissioner Nielsen and myself met and discussed some of our priorities to present to the Neighborhood Improvement Commission, and we came up with three items. And the number one item was the Highland Otis volleyball court improvement. And the price tag on that was $20,000. I presented that to the Neighborhood Improvement Commission. The whole project would include a framework around the court and removing of the existing sand that's in pretty dangerous condition, and then putting new sand in there. And even looking at maybe Granite Rock, getting donations from Granite Rock for the sand. The second item was the tree project. And there was two, the part A and part B. Part A was $4,500 ask for 25 to 30 native trees. Which we already have done in the past, and FOSPA took care of the planting of those trees. And then the other part B was $10,000 for the 125 native or fruit trees, which we did this last prior year. And that was really a successful project. And then the third item that I presented to the NIC was the Wheeler tennis courts resurfacing. And the price that was given to us was $72,000 for the resurfacing. And I believe it was for the relining also, right? Because I gave those papers out. I do have it on my phone, but that was the three items, and the Neighborhood Improvement Commission was really receptive to our ask, because we weren't asking for the whole thing, you know, which I believe some of the other groups might have been. So I really truly believe that they'll approve the money for us to allocate towards those projects, and hopefully we can recommend that to the council and the council will approve it. So are there any questions?
I have a question.
Commissioner Lobo?
How many other commissions or other groups were requesting money? And just for clarification, we did the Wheeler, the volleyball courts, and I missed,
The trees.
and the trees. And those were the three ask, and what was
Yes.
the total amount that they have to allocate?
$400,000 total.
And we came in with a bid of 72 for the resurfacing of the
Correct,
Wheeler courts.
correct.
And were they any individuals from the group that was here tonight at that meeting? When we did the
No.
recommendation?
No. No.
Do we have another opportunity to?
Well, there's
Present.
gonna be other group that their next meeting is their second round of listening to proposals from groups. So they've heard us, they know what we asked for. So I think we need to give the other groups opportunity to say do their spiel, like FOSFA and those kind of people. There was only one other group that presented, that was Sustainable Seaside. And I can't remember all the items that were on the ask list, but it was a lot of starting new projects from scratch that weren't even in any kind of plans or anything like that. So I can't really speak to specifics because I didn't take notes on that. Any other questions? Commissioner Nielsen?
I would like to just make a few comments about these projects that we're gonna ask, that you've asked. Thank you for doing that. On the Highland Otis one, the $20,000 was what I got from, it was just a ballpark off the top of the head, kind of ballpark figure from Chapin. And then, as you said, Carol was gonna ask for a donation of sand. So you see where the cooperation and other people trying to get money to put into these improvements is hopefully advances the possibility of this happening. Highland Otis is going to be getting their equipment, their playground equipment. Is it this year? Should it be done by the end of the year?
Think so.
Yeah.
And then, basically I think the only thing left is the volleyball court and the fact that they've got that nice volleyball net up there, but the court is regular dirt, seaside dirt that has things in it that hurt. And it would be nice to see that finished, like the park completely finished. And the tree, depending on what is best for the city and reforestation would be if trees are going to be planted in parks, they need to be available by the end of the year or like December or January. Otherwise, the parks aren't going to want to plant trees in when there's no rain and it's not the normal season to plant. So that's a consideration if that particular item is approved, or if we do the tree giveaway, the residential free tree giveaway, that's manageable throughout the year. I mean, it would be ideal if we could do it at the beginning of the year, but people, they're only going to get one tree, so they can probably care for that pretty well. And for the Wheeler tennis courts, one of the things I wanted to mention is the contractor I talked to said that he is willing to work with public works staff if they could provide some of the labor. He was willing to work with them to bring down costs. He's very flexible that way. And he is willing to come over and actually, I sent him a video of the job, but he's willing to come over and look at it too in person and get more information. But my thought is that the city is probably going to choose their own person if that's the case, their own contractor or people they've worked with before. But it would be nice if they would consider this contractor also, who has pickleball interest also. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Nielsen. I forgot to mention that I did do this presentation to the FOSPA committee before I went to the Neighborhood Improvement Commission, so that FOSPA knew what we were asking for, and maybe they could jump on board and promote the same, get the same items promoted, and between the two of us, we'll win, hopefully. So, because I did remind them, I started off by saying that we work cooperatively with the different commissions and committees. And that's one of our high priorities in our work plan and has been for a number of years. So they heard that. So anything else? Okay, public comment.
There's no one in the chamber on Zoom.
Someone's saying that they're in the waiting room in Zoom? I just got a text message.
I'm not seeing anyone in the waiting room.
Public comment is still open.
We can give them a second to see if they pop in. For people in the waiting room earlier. Still no one on Zoom and no one in the chamber.
Okay, one last chance for public comment. Okay, public comment is now closed.
Chair, if I may, real quick.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Nielsen, just to expand on the point you made with about the contractor, a project like this would need to have an RFP sent out. So then, and the contractor would be able to respond to that RFP and submit a proposal. So definitely has an opportunity to be selected, within that process. It's just not like the city just randomly chooses anybody. There is a process that they go through.
Thank you, Mr. Mewis. Okay, moving on to business item D. Discussion on having the local nonprofits give presentations regarding their priorities, accomplishments, and goals for 2023. Commissioner Lobo.
So this was just for discussion and informational. We have a lot of partners that Parks and Recs does work with and collaborates with, and just to have an understanding across the board what their priorities and what their goals are for the year would be nice, so that when we are in community and public, we can relate those and also streamline our goals and objectives around those of our partners that are helping us, like FOSTA and Sustainable Seaside. I know that we have some partners that do give us some updates like mid-year and whatnot, but perhaps making it a more of a requirement so that we know at the beginning of the year what, say, all of FOSTA Parks priorities are for this year. And then that way, when we are announcing park cleanups, we know what those priorities are. I know one of the major items that they really look for is cardboard. And so that's something that we can obviously announce during our meetings, but also, again, having a clear understanding so that we can cohesively move the work forward. So just opening it up for discussion on how we feel about that, if we want those presentations.
Commissioner Nielsen.
I understand that it is important to coordinate things. I feel like there is cooperation between community partners, especially FOSPA and Sustainable Seaside, that we can go to FOSPA meetings and get information and bring information back to our commissioners and to the public. People can come and listen, anybody can go to their meetings and anybody can come to our meetings. I know that they communicate with city staff, and I don't know how often Dan, being the liaison, how often you receive communication or know what's happening with FOSPA or Sustainable Seaside, but I feel like we have a pretty good dialogue and understanding, and I think we try to keep that going. Like somebody's always attending their meeting and bringing information back to share generally if that's needed. But unless there are some ideas that you have, I don't think it should be a requirement for anything to happen, but I think we are being pretty cooperative. And most of their goals are pretty clear and on their website and on their Facebook page of what they want to do, what's coming up. So I'm kind of happy with what is happening so far in that area. But other nonprofits, I'm not sure what other nonprofits we might want to look into. Thank you.
Commissioner Vogel, go ahead.
My concern is because we do have great relationships with two, Sustainable Seaside and FOSTA, is that the only communication is happening with those individually, not as a whole. So we're not informing the community of what their goals are, when their meetings are, and not one representative comes back and says they meet on Wednesdays. This is what their yearly goal is, but this is what their individual goal for each park is, or for these particular parks. Like, I had no idea even before I joined this commission that FOSTA and Sustainable Seaside had their own websites, had their own community meetings, that their own priority goals as a whole for Monterey County, as each individual park, and then what they're what they're focusing on each year. Like this year, they're focusing on maintaining what they already had and how can they maintain it on a long-term basis. And those are just information that I had because of an individual meeting that we had. As far as public perception, we don't know anything. And we're not giving that information out to the public, which is why I wanted to have the discussion, because me being new and being in these settings, I've never heard until we had a situation where we had new partners that wanted to be part of that. And they also didn't have any information on what the goals were. So maybe the information is relatively available for those that know where to find that information. But as far as allocating and providing that information to the community during our meetings is important. It's also important to hear it directly from our partners, to know what is happening in the city of Seaside and how we are partnering with them and what the community can do at large. Hearsay is great, but if we're not having an allocated person that, other than staff, that hears communication within those realms, there is no public announcements happening. So if the information is relevantly accessible, and we should know as a commission, should know the goals of our partners, should know if we are aligned as a whole. We should have presentations to know how close we're getting to those goals, what other partners we can tap in outside of Parks and Recs that Dan may know, or neighborhood improvement may know. But cohesive information across the board is not happening, and asking our community to say, oh, we'll go find it here. Unless they have our personal number, unless they have Dan's personal number, and they want to know about something, then they have to go directly to those persons. I don't hear anything unless we're there, or we have a direct contact individually, not as a whole. So if that's something that's happened before, where there was, I mean, even our partners as a city whole have to do presentations yearly to let us know what they're doing in our own city, how they're advertising, or how they're bringing community in. I think this also tackles the issue about new partners coming in and wanting to know what work is already being done, so that we're not duplicating that work in certain parks, and that they can tackle other parts cohesively under the premise that we're all in communication. But if we're not in communication and we don't know what is going on, then other outside partners can never really effectively come in unless they go through Dan, unless they go through one of us individually. But there is no mainstream information for our partners. I don't know. I personally don't know, and I'd like to be informed. And that is a means for me to be informed, to bring our partners here and let us know what's going on. How much more help can we contribute to that? When I go to the park cleanups, I wouldn't know unless I ask the question.
Okay, thank you for your concerns. Go ahead, Commissioner Moulton.
So I agree with you. The information's great, but it sounds like you want us to do these nonprofits' job for them. If what they want us to know is so important, wouldn't they find a way to get it to us? It seems like this is something that you on your personal time can reach out to them. And then when we have our commissioner reports, you can fill us in, and then the public can know. And then we're getting the word out, and we can then agendize those items so that we can line up with our partners. Does that make sense?
I would love to do that, but I don't have a capacity to do that. So that's what I'm asking. We don't have a representative that is closely, other than staff, that is closely having that relationship with our partners to let us know. Other than that, I would personally go to these meetings if I could, but I cannot. I don't have the bandwidth or the capability to do that, other than when I do volunteer on certain part cleanups that I have. And there's a lot of folks that don't. You know, I have children, I have a slew of things just like everyone else. So for me to personally go out and do it and come report back, I don't have the capacity. But if someone else does have the capacity to reach out to all our partners that work and then come report, great, but we don't even have that. So the discussion is about how can we get there? Do we have them come up? That was my only.
Commissioner Moulton.
I do not have the capacity either.
Okay, I have in the past attended numerous FOSPA meetings. And I have requested to have one of them represent FOSPA and attend our meetings so that we could hear what they're working on, or, you know, we have like Diane, or Commissioner Nielsen and Commissioner Daniels have attended numerous FOSPA meetings too, to see what their plans are, what they're working on. And we try to collaborate so we don't bump heads on projects, and we can get more done with less effort or whatever from our side, and less effort on their side. And collaboratively, we get more done. Their meetings are open to the public, and I believe they're on the last Monday of the month at Oldemeyer Center at 6 o'clock, if I'm not wrong. And they also have a newsletter that they send out information on what parks are scheduled to be cleaned up and such things like that. So does anyone else have anything else to add? Director Mewis?
I can just say that I believe that, anyone on this commission can request FOSPA to come to and make a presentation. And I do believe that the last time they made a presentation to city council, they did get that request. No,
Yeah.
I understand that. And there's a lot of times where presentations generally come in cycle, like through both, right? They'll start in Parks and Rec and then they'll go to city council. So I think that it is a good idea to reach out to them and see if they can give a presentation. There's nothing wrong with them giving a quarterly report or an update on like, hey, this quarter, we spent 4 days in Lincoln Cunningham. We did this, this, and this. We spent 6 days here at this park. We did this, this, and I think that is a really good idea. So that way there's more information getting put out to the community. So it's just making those requests, and I'm pretty sure that they would be open to doing it. And I think if, put it in a similar context for staff, like at city council meetings, departments have to give quarterly updates to the city council on departments. Right. To me, it seems very similar to that same kind of situation where like these are our partners and they're working with us. It definitely makes sense. So it's my 2 cents. It just, just got to ask.
I do know that their efforts are invaluable to this community. It really, they reach out for grant funds when possible, and they do. Everybody on that committee has taken ownership in their neighborhood park, whatever area they live in. They're the ones that are like the chairperson or the one in charge of overseeing that park and the needs of that park, and bringing it to their to that committee's attention.
And just if I may on that point, with them applying for a grant, I think it actually makes even more sense that if they are going and applying for grants, for them to come to the commission and say, hey, just so you're aware, we are applying for this grant coming up and this is the due date. this is what the grant entails. And then it gives the commission an idea to look at, like, depending on the timing. Okay, well, we know that FOSPA is applying for this grant, it's for $50,000. But it's gonna cost, more to get the project done. And then when the commission is doing their work plan, they can prioritize that, like, hey, you know what? We know FOSPA is doing this, we need to help prioritize this project to get it done. So it makes a lot of sense to have more of these discussions more frequent, so everyone is aware, right? So that's, more communication is better. That's what it really comes down to.
Correct. Commissioner Moulton?
Yes, just so I'm understanding Commissioner Lobo's request, it wasn't necessarily FOSPA. We have, I mean, tons of communication with them. You're speaking to more of the players that we don't know about, and you want us to kind of seek them out. Is that what I'm understanding?
Just in general, like our partners, right? If FOSTA already does a presentation quarterly, that's great. It's just in general for us to see them here, for our community to see them in our chambers during public meeting to give a synopsis. Maybe there's community members out there that cannot make their meetings and they're not as fortunate as the communication that we have, the flowing communication that we have here. But it would be nice for our partners that actually are engrossed in the work to let us know updates, whether that's quarterly, whether that's whenever they do an update with the council, so that it could be more personalized to the work that we're already doing in our own backyard, right? There's some folks that don't know what's going on. I didn't. So for me, that would be nice to have it there, but not only that, it's in public record that we knew that we started at Havana at this point and look how far we went. And also to lead to that funding, if they're already applying for certain funds, it would be advantageous for us to know so that we're not applying, or city staff is not applying for the same type of grants across the board. Now, I don't know if you guys are having those type of conversations, but it would be nice to know what those look like so that we have more awareness of where the funding is coming from and what it's going to be utilized at the larger scale, because I'm sure that they have this, but this is just information, just general information.
Okay, so just Commissioner Daniels.
I guess it's a little pushback. I believe FOSPA does come like to city council, and a lot of times the conversation is like over our head when they do come with grant funding, especially like concerning like equipment. But as like a volunteer group, I don't believe that they give funding to volunteer. So it's like they're asking them like to throw more on their plate and come report like they're volunteering. I don't really know any other organization that does that. I mean, for example, like I work for a nonprofit in my professional life, and like when we're dealing with like entities, when it's around like grant funding, yeah, we do the reporting, but when it's around community, that's when like community is the priority. So I understand what you're saying, but like it'd be beneficial for them to come in the show, but to like force them or ask them as a requirement, you're like it's kind of overwhelming, and it can be, especially dealing with a volunteer group. That's my only comments.
Good point. Okay, Commissioner Lobo.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but they don't only do volunteer work, they also utilize us in order to get these funds as partners. So yes, even a volunteer group would want to be, come forth and provide information. But I'm pretty sure that they use us further than just a volunteer group in order to yield those funds for our city. So they have to work closely, if not all together, with our city staff. So even though we're not requiring them to report like whatever their funding source is giving the funds to us, it should still be some sort of requirement, because a volunteer group cannot volunteer without having city staff be involved in that. So regardless, we at some point would have to report anything that's coming in through those avenues, even volunteer work, for liability purposes, for any of those type of issues that could arise, right? To have partners come in and do their due diligence to let us know who they are, what they're doing, allows us to have open communication across the board. It will prevent situations from happening where we have established groups that are doing great work, but now feel some sort of territorial about the work that they're doing in our city because we may know them and the people that actually go there, but those newcomers, those new community members that are moving into our area that do not know FOSTA, that do not know Sustainable Seaside, that do not know CCDSA or any other blue zones or whatnot, that may want that information here. So yes, they are a volunteer group, but they're not solely a volunteer group. Just like any other nonprofit organization that does work in Seaside still has to report to the city of Seaside.
Anything else? All right, moving on.
Public comment?
Oh, it's my bad. Public comment is now open on this item.
I'm not seeing anyone in the chamber or on Zoom.
Public comment is still open. Okay, public comment is closed. Okay, the next item, business item is 5E. Review and discuss chapter 9.08 Parks and Recreation Areas of the City Municipal Code. And that's also brought up by Commissioner Lobo.
So this one was brought up, or we tabled this for this meeting after we had a conversation with FOSTA, Sustainable Seaside, CCDSA, to understand what the issue was. But it's also in our work plan for it's on high and to be reviewed in the fall of 2023, which would be this year in the next couple of weeks, months, since fall will be started early fall now. Will begin. So this also gives us an opportunity to look at the ordinance to see if there are any changes need to be made as a whole. The discussion that we had with Sustainable Seaside and FOSTA was very positive. I think we left that meeting understanding that we all were on the same page, just not understanding the capacity of each individual partnership that the city of Seaside has. Dan can give feedback on that, but the premise was to review the chapter because of an incident that happened with new partners. And then also because it's on our it's on our work plan to be reviewed in the fall. So the issue presented itself, perfect opportunity to look at it, and then have discussion.
Okay, does anyone have any comments or more discussion? Commissioner Nielsen.
My only comment is I've read this ordinance and I'm fine with it.
Okay,
I didn't see anything that needed changing.
anyone else? I have also read this ordinance and I don't believe anything else needs to be changed or amended. We did do some amendments a couple of years ago. And I think that we addressed the issues that needed to be addressed at that time. Anyone else? Taking it out to public comment.
Seeing anyone in the chamber or on Zoom?
Public comment is still open. Okay, public comment is closed. Okay, business item F, discuss having a special meeting for another park tour. I do have a question. Why do we have to call them special meetings? Aren't they our regular meetings now? Monthly?
No,
They're not?
no, because that would require an ordinance change.
Oh my,
So
okay.
it's always, we have been putting them on monthly as standard. Our only regular meetings, Terry, are, this was a regular meeting.
They were quarterly.
Yes, so those are like the, you know, when,
Okay, I'm fine with that.
so then the special meeting for a park tour would be whether or not we wanted to have, like, we're gonna continue to add them to the agenda until we hit them on. I think, Terry, we only have like one more cycle. I think it's just the ball fields now.
Catino, Mets, Soper.
Super. And Roberts Lake, I think.
Oh,
It's the big parks now. Yeah. So we can add that to the next agenda and depending on what items we get.
Commissioner Daniels.
I'm not gonna lie, today I'm kind of wary. I don't know if that's the right word, kind of exhausted a little bit. I'm wondering if, since it's the bigger parks and they're kind of spread out like Catino, Laguna Grande, if we can, up for consideration, like put the tours just in that meeting, just have that instead of having that and then, because our meetings have been kind of long, so maybe have that in consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Moulton.
Yeah, I second what Commissioner Daniels said. I'm not opposed to doing park tours, but I mean, when we load down the agenda with a lot of other items, these tend to run pretty late. So I mean, obviously we can't control what the public is gonna want to talk about, but we can control what we want to talk about. So if we can just keep that in mind.
True. We could just put it on the agenda and have it in case if we have time.
And we are getting to that time of year, right? I think September and October will really be the last, I mean, probably just September. October, the meetings halfway through the month and it will be pretty dark by, 7. It will start to be dark at 7. Oh, yes, and that's true. So I'll get into the
time change?
No, the reports. I'll talk about that, Terry.
Oh. Can we have it on the agenda next?
We'll add it. We can add it to the
special
agenda and
meeting
then
and if there's time. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Do we need a public comment on that?
yeah,
Okay, public comment is now open on the item.
there's nobody here.
So I have to announce it. Public comment is still open. Public comment is now closed. Okay, I got the hammer. Almost. Okay, reports from recreation staff.
All right, I'll make this quick. So we concluded Blues in the Park on August 6th. We had our final concert. It's pretty well turned out for the entire series. So it was quite nice to give the community just live music in the park. I think that's really, what it comes down to. We are preparing, we'll have one more meeting before our next large event, which is Oaxaca by the Sea. So that will be on Saturday, September 23rd. City Hall lawn, we're closing CDR. It's going to be here in Laguna Grande Park. Working on all the details now. We have a delegation coming from Oaxaca. The mayor of Oaxaca will be here as well as his cabinet, and then the fire chief, as we're working on solidifying our public safety partnership with them. So that's going to be a really great event. A couple of the things that are going to be included with it, there's going to be a pop-up art exhibit, which we're going to hold here. We're going to put a lot of pieces from Oaxaca is going to be in the chamber. And then depending on the space for the current art exhibit, we're going to work on some other avenues, and we're going to have a reception on the Friday before. And then we have the event, and then we're going to have a business expo as well, where we're going to be intermingling the Oaxacan businesses in Seaside, and then some business owners from Oaxaca are also coming. So we're going to be doing tastings, food tastings, we're actually going to be doing some mezcal tastings as well. So that's all going to be at Oldemeyer Center. And we're going to have a nice little expo. Tomorrow, we're actually doing a Zoom meeting with our businesses and their businesses so they can start the dialogue on how they're going to move forward with this. So it's going to be really cool. And we're just working on the itinerary for the tours and everything for when they all come out here. We had just our fall swim lesson registration come and go very quickly. It really is highlighting how well our participation is, but how dire our need is for swim instructors, so we can increase those numbers, because every time we do it, I get multiple people coming and they're just upset that they just can't get into the lesson. So it's really challenging. We want to make sure we can offer as much as we can, but like our numbers have really had to go down because we just don't have the capacity right now. Kids are back in school, so we are doing all of our fall programming, and that's pretty much all I got right now.
Thank you. Any questions from commissioners? Thank you for your presentation.
Oh, I have a question,
Oh,
real quick. How
Commissioner Walton.
is the farmer's market doing? I've been going every week.
A farmer's market is going well. If you didn't see, we were nominated for best farmer's market in the Monterey County Weekly, which is quite an honor for only being in operation for 2 months. So that was a really good plus there. And then last week I had a meeting with the operators. We're kind of going over, you know, what's working, what's not working. And we were told that right now that our market is the most popular market. We are getting more traction in the Seaside market than they're getting in PG or their marina markets. So while, you know, it is going good by the operator stance. So I think couple that, the numbers are good, and then just being nominated for the weekly, that's showing that people are coming, they're really enjoying the live music. They're enjoying, you know, just having an activity for kids, whether it's the bounce house or anything else that they have out there. Like there's opportunities there, and we are kind of starting looking at how we can expand that moving forward, just to continue to make it more of an event out there. So you can come and get your dinner, you can get your vegetables, you can hang out and listen to some music, or, you know, have your kids play around for a little bit. So it is going good right now.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Mewis. Okay, reports from park staff. We have our Assistant Director of Public Works, Ms. Burke.
Good evening, commissioners. I'm just here with a quick parks update. We have a lot going on right now. So the Lincoln Cunningham Park basketball court is currently in construction. They've completed the pavement, bioswale, walkway, concrete curbing, backboard hoops, and storm drain. And the remaining work is just striping benches and then hydroseeding the slope. The contractor is expected to be substantially complete on September 8th and get final completion a couple weeks later. Ribbon cutting has not been scheduled yet, but it'll follow soon after the final completion and before FOSPA's October cleanup event to avoid having it happen in the rain. And engineering will let FOSPA know of that date. Highland Otis Park construction contract was awarded last Thursday to Kramer Construction. Construction is expected to start in mid-September and be complete in the beginning of November. Fernando Park also was the contract was awarded last Thursday. Kramer Construction once again was a low bid, and they're planned to start in mid-September and complete by the end of December. So then brings us to Pachetti Park and Mescal Neal Park. The benches and picnic tables have been placed at Pachetti Dog Park. 2 of the picnic benches and tables have been placed at Mescal Neal Park. An additional 2 have yet to be installed by maintenance staff, but will after Oaxaca by the Sea when staff time frees up a little bit. Then there's a Lincoln Cunningham and Havana Solis Park concepts. So we had a virtual town hall meeting on June 13th. There was also an in-person community meeting on June 24th. The next public meeting will be here at the Parks and Rec meeting, where we'll present the draft concept. And we'd like to do that, holding a special meeting in September.
We'll be at our normal meeting. September, I think.
Okay, so that one's a normal meeting. Okay.
It will be our monthly meeting, which is a special meeting, but yes, it'll be the third Monday in September.
We are pushing, we really want with timing to get it here and then to council so that we can implement at least a portion of that during this fiscal year. So we're working with Dan on the best time in September to do that. And we'll coordinate with you on if there's going to be other tours and such as well. Okay, and then let's see, Cutino Park. They started in April and they're about 60% complete and hoping to complete in November. Sabado Park, we are working toward securing a Cal-Am potable water use reduction grant, which will allow us to take out some of the natural turf to install drought tolerant plants and some golden gravel. So that is my update on the parks construction. Any
Thank you
questions?
for your presentation.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions?
I do.
Commissioner Nielsen.
Yeah,
When you said Catino Park, would it refresh my memory on what is happening at Catino?
well, there's the whole, well, they did the field,
It's the
right?
Parking lot, the
It's the
parking lot
ADA.
and the new playground, the bleachers, and then the ADA from the new parking lot and playground to the field.
The follow-up to the field, yeah.
I have a question.
Commissioner Lovell.
For the presentation for the master plans, is that the final design and what you're trying to do is present it here and then take it to the council for approval of that to begin the first phase? Is that what I understand?
Yeah, so what it is for those two parks, it would be the trail, the draft trail concepts and the amenities that I believe we may have two concepts that we would then bring here, and then we would hope to have a recommendation from your commission to then take forward to the city council.
These are the concepts formed from the input of the community and the
Yes.
meetings that you've had so far. So this will be the first draft that we see for recommendations prior to you taking it to council, but you're trying to do that with seeing us first and then perhaps that same week seeing the council after our recommendations?
They'd probably be separated by about a month. So we would take, whatever input we got here, including community input that from this first, our ability to share it publicly, and then take that and then be able to provide a recommendation to city council based on that.
Okay, thank you.
And just for the plan on that one, when it does come here, since it will be the first really go around that the public's gonna have a look at it, we'll be sending out notices to the neighborhoods around there, so they'll have the opportunity to come see what the concept is. So we can, that meeting it's a good point that you brought it up on September, potentially could be quite lengthy if we do have even a fraction of the public comment we had today for the pickleball from those residents, if it's going to be the first time that they're going to see those concept plans.
Commissioner Moulton.
I wasn't sure. Did we ever get resolution on the bridge that leads to Lincoln Cunningham Park?
So the council did discuss that at the budget, and they approved to tear down the bridge and then do a design to have a new bridge put up. But the only funding is for the removal of the bridge and the design of the new one. Is
Thank
that
you.
correct?
Thanks. Any other questions? Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
And-
Sorry for keeping you. up
No, and I
late.
forgot one piece on when we were talking about the meetings. We will be the Parks Master Plan consultant is proposing a joint meeting with the Parks and Rec Commission, the Environmental Commission, and the Art and History Commission. And we're looking at our October meeting date. So we would have a three-way joint commission meeting on, I think it's October 16th. So I just want to put that on the record that that will most likely be happening for the first kind of like bite of the apple with his plan. We'll probably have to do it at Oldemeyer because we'll have, you know, a lot more people involved. So just want to put that on your radar, is that October meeting.
How would that look like? As commissioners asking questions or like engaging, like, will it be kind of like? When they came out and they kind of presented at the Oldemeyer Center with like, oh, put your ideas here and stuff, like that forum, or how,
It'll be more like this.
with all of us?
Yes.
I'll be the chair. Commissioner Moulton.
Hey, can we get cool name tags so we can be like, they can tell us apart from the other commissions? Just throwing that out there. Thank you.
Okay.
Union. Okay, any other questions? Oh. Okay, moving on. Reports from commissioners. Commissioner Nielsen.
I went to Concourse de Lemons this past Saturday. And I saw a lot of people there. And it was really fun. Most of the people were not Seaside people, which is kind of good. We're bringing people in from, I mean, I wish more people from Seaside were there, but it was fun to see us. I just love going to that and seeing how we are that fun part of the Concourse Car Week. That's it.
Okay, Commissioner Daniels,
I have nothing to report.
Commissioner Lobo.
I also attended the Concord de Le Mans and Exotics on Broadway and the Italiano at Bayonet, and they were all great events. I think the Exotic on Broadway was probably the most attended, but also the area that they use to bring in some of the cars. I can see how traffic gets backed up in those areas. And so they bring them in from all areas, and it's really cool because you're right next to it, and like it's a great experience. I saw a lot of folks from the community at the Exotic and also at Bayonet. I did not see a lot of Seasiders at Concord de Le Mans. I did see a lot of people, but it was, I feel like a lot of those influxes was from Concord de Le Mans coming down and kind of enjoying, but I did see a lot of them at Exotic Broadway as well. The shuttling was packed, and so was the parking in the shuttling area. So I don't know how that went over with staff and everything, but the shuttle worked really well. It was just lines. There was a lot of lines. I took it and then I drove there. So I did a double back. So it was good. Our police chief was there. I didn't hear very much racing on General Jim Moore until the Italian cars came to Broadway. So then you kind of saw the full circle. It was nice though. There's a couple of heavy hitters in our city walking around. That was it. That's all I report.
Commissioner Walton.
Nothing to report, but I do want to thank Dan for making arrangements for the handicap parking for Blues in the Park. I appreciate you taking that to heart and making that happen. Thanks, that's it.
Commissioner Moulton.
Nothing to report.
Oh my. Okay. I attended the older adults luncheon last week. It was a luau theme, which was really good. We also did a moment of silence for the people that were lost and still suffering over in the Hawaiian Islands. What else did I do? Oh, I attended the flag raising out here for the Monterey Bay Football Club Union. That was really good. Their flags flying there. What else did I do? And then I did the presentations too. FOSPA and also the Neighborhood Improvement Commission on behalf of this commission. So hopefully we'll get some money to work with. Okay, if no one has any other items, thank you all for attending. This meeting is adjourned until our next special called meeting, September 18th here, 5:30.